Creative Brain Candy by creators for creators.
You're listening to Simply Stogies, a monthly podcast dedicated to the cigar enthusiast. Light up a stogie, sit back and relax while James brings you along on his journey as a new cigar smoker. Simply Stogies will review cigars, discuss topics that cigar aficionados find important, and will probably learn a few things along the way. Now, here's your host of Simply Stogies, James.
Welcome to Simply Stogies. I am your host, James. Today, we are at Capital Cigar Lounge in Lincoln, Nebraska, on location with Jeff Gaston, who is the owner, creator, founder of Gaston. What do you call it? Just Gaston?
Yeah, I guess it's just Gaston. There's a lot with it, but that's pretty much it.
And we're going to talk about that. He makes ashtrays, beautiful ashtrays. I can't wait for everybody to see the picture of this that he gifted me today, it is a fantastic. It's got my name engraved on it. It's got the Simply Stogies logo in the middle. It's fantastic. We've got a lot of great stuff for you, the listener, around these ashtrays. So please stay tuned for that. But welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you.
So we're here, like I said, at Capital Cigar Lounge, Lincoln, Nebraska. It is a fantastic spot. This is your home lounge.
Yeah. Actually, we're just up the street.
Right up the street. And it is a beautiful spot. It's large, it's spacious. Simplystogies.com, and you can take a look at it. We did a lounge review of it. Tony, Austin, and Jeff, great guys. Jeff's a humidor coach. Austin and Tony are the co-owners of Capital here. When you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, this is the spot to go. So before we get to Jeff, I want to invite you, the listener, to go to creativebraincandy.com and check out all of the great family of podcasts we have there, including Eyes Forward March. Eyes Forward March is a podcast from a couple of guys, a couple of NCOs in the National Guard that will talk about everything that NCOs need to know about. They talk about what life is like as a full-time National Guard member, what NCOs do, how they should network, and really how to prepare to get out of the military when that happens for you, and all of the things that go along with being in the military. Eyes Forward March, creativebraincandy.com, and check out the other great podcasts we have there and Twitch streamers. And that's all the shilling I think that I've got to do this morning, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming in on a Saturday. Sit down with me.
Hell yeah.
So let's get to know you. How did your cigar journey start?
Okay, so I used to work on the road about 350 days a year. I went to school for non-destructive testing, which is a fancy word for a welding inspector. And like my specialty, there's millions of different inspection types, but my specialty is advanced ultrasonic inspection, which I got into that because I'm a huge audio nerd. And then, so I understood the sound part very easily. But the easy way to explain it is like when like a woman is pregnant and she goes and gets ultrasound of the baby, that's what I do into welds and steel. So I can tell let's say it's a new weld. I can tell if it's cracked, if there's porosity, which is like trapped air, which will crack, voids. I mean, you never know what you're going to find.
That is way over my head.
Yeah. And like, I don't work on the road anymore. I work for the state of Nebraska in a testing lab. So if I'm not doing ultrasonic inspections, I'm pulling steel apart because you're testing strength.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun. I mean, yesterday we pulled a anchor bolt apart, which is like when you go down the interstate and you see the signs that hang over the roads. Yeah. The bolts that hold those down are probably 4 or 5 feet long. So we got to see if their tensile strength, which is the strength, like if you pull something apart, is what it's supposed to be. We'll put it in the machine and pull it apart, and those bolts are they're as big as my forearm. So I mean, it sounds like a bomb goes off.
So it's like you work with your hands a lot, work with your ears a lot.
A lot. I mean, my dad was, we don't buy it, we build it. So it's second nature to me.
And you can tell from your ashtrays. What's your Instagram account?
Gaston Cigar with GSTN Cigar.
GSTN Cigar at GSTN Cigar. Go follow him right now. He shows you Like I saw a little Instagram video where you were putting fire to the ashtrays.
Yeah, that was a little torch. The little torch is fun, but I like the big torch.
Well, who wouldn't?
When we do bulk
stuff,
like, it's loud. When you click that thing to inject the propane, it's fucking loud.
So how did you get started with cigars?
When I was on the road, usually you work every day 10s or 12s, like 7 to 7 or some shit.
Oof.
But when you're dealing with welders, you luckily are involved with a welders union, so they get every 14th day off. So it's pretty much every other Sunday. So when you're on the road, some jobs, I might be in a job for a year. So I'm living in my camper, living in a hotel, whatever.
For a whole year.
And that's if the job is that short.
How does your family handle that?
Well, I'm divorced. I'm married now.
Okay.
But from before,
when
divorced.
You were doing this all the time.
No kids until I got off the road.
So it's a hard.
Oh, it's a hard life. If you meet somebody that's working on the road like that and they're not divorced or, all the cliches, they're out there for, it's a hard life.
Wow.
But like when I would, you pretty much camp where everybody else is camped because it's hard to house that many people.
Right.
And some guys were just in the smoking cigars. It's one of those things. It's like when I was younger and I was a truck driver because my dad was a truck driver. If you don't smoke or chew, there's something wrong with you, is like the saying. So like I'll do pouches, but I never got into chew because I just have too much of a spitty mouth, which you'll hear on the mic. Sorry. But like, there was just guys who were really into cigars. And I always thought it was interesting, loved the smell of them. And when I tried them, I was like, man, I don't like this is for me because I had them in the past. And one guy that I met on a job was like, well, you're not smoking good ones. You're smoking like gas station junk or whatever.
Like the Black and Milds. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Those like a where it's not even a flavor, just purple. That's a flavor,
Purple is a flavor.
And
in some parts of the country, purple is a flavor, yes.
They once they got me onto them, I was like, and I was hooked because I'm a research junkie. So once I started researching and all that, I was still very like, I might have one every couple months, but I liked researching it. And this is actually weird because of, I'll tell you at the end of the story, it's kind of full circle, was like when I grew up, my grandfather died before I was born, but he smoked like 3 packs of cigarettes a day, like old school.
Yeah.
And my dad saw him go through, stage 3, all that stuff. So my dad was like, no cigarettes, no chew. Me and my brother grew up with my dad. Our mom lived in they were just divorced. We ended up with our dad.
Sure.
So I was always like, it was like ingrained, like no tobacco at all. And then my dad got throat cancer. And I was like, even after not touching this stuff his whole life, at 56, he gets throat cancer. It was kind of like, fuck it. Yeah. All in, like full throttle. And he made it. My dad is the worst. He has the Gaston curse, which is a true thing. He had throat cancer, got over it, got COVID, and was on a tube for a month. And we got multiple calls from the doctors that were like, keep your phone on because he's probably not going to make it through the night.
Oh, wow.
Made it through it.
Good for him.
Then he lost like 35 pounds during that. And my dad's like a pretty fit guy. Then he fell and dislocated his shoulder at work because he was too weak. And my dad refuses to not work. And he just called me last night and said he has throat cancer again and came back. No. So, it's like, I don't know. Like, it sounds so cliche and stupid, but it's like every day I'm like, thank God I got it. I'm drinking. I'm 2 drinks right now at the same time. Full throttle. Let's do it.
You only go through this life once.
Yeah.
Right? And you can get killed walking your doggy. So
live fast, die ugly.
That's the words to live by right there. Yeah. Hope, good luck to your dad. That's terrible. But that reminds me, Janus Coffee Roasters, they have a coffee blend called Fuck Cancer. And all of their proceeds go to cancer research. So JanusCoffeeRoasters.com, I think, is the website. Fuck Cancer, PHUCK Cancer. Go check that out because it's a worthy cause. And this is a lifestyle that has some risks associated with it. Certainly not probably as much as a cigarette.
No, actually, again, research junkie. any form of cancer brought on from a cigar is less than 1%.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to be a pack-a-day Marlboro Red smoker for 15, 20 years. Quit that. I was tobacco free for 7-8 years when I picked this hobby up, and took some convincing with the wife. Like, no, you don't understand. It's only gonna be once or twice a week, sweetheart. I just want to go outside, get away from the toddler for a little bit. That's all I want to do. And now it's turned into lunchtime. I'm gonna go have a cigar. Dinner time. I'm gonna go have a cigar. But I mean, that's just the way it goes. Is that how it went with you? Because it sounds like you started slow, and then you really picked up. What was the cigar? Do you remember that made you go, "Oh, this is it. This hobby is for me"?
Ironically, it was the 556 Garrison at Capital Cigar when they had their store south of here. I walked in and I basically I can't remember his name. I think it was Dusty, but I told him, I said, I kind of smoke, but I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And he's like, this is a good one for, I lost most of my taste buds when I was a kid. So I like a little bit of spice, a little bit of strength and all that. And I like a lot of strength, but, he was like, at the time, I think they moved to San Antonio, but at the time they were, Warfighter was made like 20 miles south of here.
Jeff was, in the episode that's going to come out in a couple of weeks. Take a look at it on YouTube, guys. It's going to be Tim and I and the humidor coach here at Capital, Jeff, sitting down for Cigars and Coffee on YouTube. And we're going to talk, and he talks about that, how Warfighter was here. And then because of taxes, they had to move. But yeah, so Warfighter is what got you started. It's great that you remember that, and you're actually smoking it now. I'm smoking the LCA Cigabon. That's pretty good. How's that Warfighter treating you?
I love it.
You do?
It's like, Jeff, I wish I could remember what it was. It was a Crux, but I can't. It was like a teal label, and that's what I was smoking earlier. It was great. Once I saw the Warfighter up at the top, I'm like, oh man, I haven't had that forever. I was like, yeah, give me that thing. Give me as big a one as you got. Yeah,
absolutely. Which that reminds me, if you're listening to this, you're going to get a little sneak peek here on what's coming up on that Cigars and Coffee. We have a 5-pack, Simply Stogies 5-pack at Capital and at Safari. And the one here at Capital, I'll go ahead and pimp that one because that one has in it this Cigabon that I'm smoking now. It has the LCA Vince and the LCA Buena Ventura, I believe it's called. It also has a Cavalier White Series, and it has the Kintsugi, which is really good. You should give the Kintsugi a try, the Alec and Bradley Kintsugi. Give Jeff a call, 402-430-0266, and tell him that you want the Simply Stogies 5-pack, and he will get that out to you. It's $55 shipped if you live outside of Nebraska. So you actually... This is your home lounge. You live a little bit away.
Yeah, I live like 30 minutes south, tiny town.
How did you get into making ashtrays?
By complaining.
About ashtrays?
Well, yeah, okay, so my wife bought me an ashtray last year off of Etsy, and when I was using it, I was like, man, I just kept, every time I smoke, I'm a very blunt person, and I just like was kind of mumbling under my breath like, oh, it's so stupid. Why would you make it? This is so dumb. And I kept saying, like whoever made this clearly does not smoke cigars because there's no functional way to use this. And after, me complaining, she just said, why don't you just go make one then? Because I basically said, thanks for the gift. It sucks.
That sounds like something I would say to my wife. Thanks a lot. This is terrible.
So I went and made one, and I at the time, like my only social media then was Snapchat. And I was barely on it. And I just put it up just saying like, I was hand carving then. I didn't really have a lot of tools, and at least to do this stuff. And I just said, this is pretty cool how it turned out, And somebody said, can I buy that? And I was like, you want to buy it? So I was like, okay. So I sold it. Well, then I'm back to square one. I don't have one. And it just repeated. And I remember telling my wife, like, I think I might have something here that I'm not even aware of is happening. And at that time, we just had a basement, no garage, no shop, anything. And I would have to work down there. Oh man, we have a daughter, and at that time she was an infant, like a couple months old. So it was all based around, naps and sleeping and stuff like that.
Very familiar with that.
I'd have to go out in the yard and cut during naps, and baby monitor sitting on the wood and all that junk. But I just kept doing it, and it just exploded. And then I started it into an actual business on September 1st last year, 2020, and it just hasn't stopped. I mean, we're shipping internationally, and
they're beautiful ashtrays. Go to your Instagram at GSTN Cigars, and you're going to see some of the stuff he has. Do you have a website where you sell these from?
Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
Gaston Cigar. Yeah.
GastonCigar.com, GSTNCigar.com. You actually brought a gift for me, which I am very thankful for. This thing is beautiful, and I'll put a picture up, and it'll probably be the picture that you see if you go to simplystogies.com and you're listening to the episode there, and you'll see it on the Instagram at Simply Stogies Podcast. It's beautiful. It's got my name engraved on it. My name is spelled correctly. My last name is not an easy name to get right, but he nailed it. And it's got the Simply Stogies logo in the middle of the actual ashtray, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for this gift. It is fantastic. Talk to me about the process of making them, because you actually have different models, I would say different models of ashtray.
For sure.
Different styles. This one, it's 2 cigar rests on it. It's very large. I would say 10.
It's 8x8.
8x8.
8x8 by 2 inches thick.
Yeah, it's got some heft to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have a cigar. Like, if you go up in my closet in my office, I always say, like, if people come over to our house and they see what I have personally, they would say, this guy sucks, because I keep all the screw ups because I don't want to throw them away.
Right.
So it's like, you can have everything down, and I have a background in manufacturing too. So it's like, but you can have everything, like, this thing is ready to cut, and you cut it and you go, nope, there's a mistake. So it's like, that's what I keep. Right. So, but that one is called the Wade versus Evans, which is one of my favorite movies is 310 to Yuma.
That's a great movie.
And so I just kind of was like trying to take like the battle of those two guys struggling through the movie. I know it sounds like really weird, but that's just how my brain works, and that's why it has that. I made that stain as a custom stain. It's called the Ironwood Cloudburst, which is named after a town in Michigan that I was at for about 9 months called Ironwood, Michigan, because when you're up that close to Lake Superior, it's different than the Midwest because it's pretty much, it's always gloomy, but when you see, it doesn't rain. You see it coming. Like, it's like a cloud floating. You're like, it's going to rain in 30 minutes, and it'll rain and then pass over you from the lake.
Right.
Or Great Superior, I shouldn't say lake. But yeah, so that's why it's got the 2 cigars. They're opposite. They're facing each other. That kind of like old westerny look with the oil rub brass.
It does have the oil rub brass on it on the 4 corners, which is it's a beautiful touch. It just kind of sets it off.
Yep.
I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for you all to see this. You know what? I may probably just take a picture of it today and throw it up on my Instagram because it's just so fantastic looking. This is probably going to be my everyday ashtray now.
And they're all, I mean, it's like the one that started all of this is the Country Pine Scorch. And when I first made an ashtray, it's like when you download like iTunes or Spotify, you're like, okay, I have every song ever made in my hands.
Yep.
What do I download? Blank. So I was like, okay, what cigar do I like to smoke? And at the time, which it still is Firethorn, Southern Draw, Firethorn. So I thought, how do I take this and put it into an ashtray? Well, I was like, well, it has to be burnt because it's Firethorn. Yep. It's spicy. So I just started going from there, and I was like, what do I do when I smoke a cigar? I drink, and I'm a huge music junkie. So I just never have a place for my phone. So that's why the phone rest came into play.
I love those. Those look so great because if you go to his Instagram, you'll see it. You can set your phone down. It's got a phone holder on it, so you can sit your phone down. You can be watching videos, listening to music, whatever. It's got the ashtray there, and then it's got a coaster. It's got a coaster for your drink because, like most of us that enjoy cigars, we enjoy a beverage, adult or otherwise, while we're smoking. And so it's got the coaster, and you can get the coaster part engraved. You can get engraving anywhere on it. Where do they start price-wise?
Anywhere from probably like $34. That's the thing. It's like I try and make it for, every scenario, every price range. I think the big focus next year is I want to make like a single small cigar, really focus on that. Like, maybe I live in an apartment or I don't have any place to store it. My biggest problem is I'm kind of a hermit. And when I started making them, I realized like, wow, I don't have a single ashtray that offers 2 people to smoke. And it's like, oh, I guess people probably have friends and smoke with them. And so I had to make 2.
Some people do. I don't, but some people do.
And, it sounds weird to say like, oh, I'm testing out an ashtray, but they're like the modern ease that came from when I was outside smoking and my phone was dying. It's like, well, now I can't charge my phone because the charger cord's at the bottom. Why don't I just make it so you could still have it set in there with the phone cable having access? So that's where that came in. And, it takes a lot of like trial and error like anything else, but got it down and it seems to be everybody enjoys it.
No, they're beautiful ashtrays. You've got to, I'm telling you, go buy an ashtray from Jeff. These are absolutely gorgeous. You can get your name engraved. The one that he gave me and the one we're going to actually do a giveaway.
Yep.
For one lucky listener. If you're listening to this right now, go to simplystogies.com and find this episode there. This is going to be episode, I think, 53. If it's not, you'll see it. You'll see it. It's the one with, it'll be a conversation with GSTN is what I'm probably going to call it. GSTN Cigars. And leave a comment. You leave a comment on the website, and you'll be entered automatically into a drawing that will happen. Let's say this will go live May 1st. Let's say this will go June 15th. Leave a comment between May 1st, 2021 and June 15th, 2021. And you will be entered into a drawing to get an ashtray just like the one I have here. What did you call this again?
Wade versus Evans.
Wayne versus Evans from the 310 to Yuma. And he's going to engrave this for you.
Yep.
So it's a $92 value that you're going to get for free. And because you're a listener of Simply Stogies, and let's say you don't win this, but you need an ashtray, this is the place to go. What's your website again?
GSTNcigar.com.
Enter code Simply Stogies for 15%?
15%.
15% off
everything.
Off everything. You cannot beat that with a stick, and I appreciate that, and I know our listeners do too. Help support Gaston Cigars because he does really great work. Let's talk about your stash at home. How many cigars do you have at home right now?
Ooh. Well,
like just spitball it for me.
I'd say 300.
Okay, that's a decent amount of cigars.
And my wife makes fun of me for this. I have OCD. I have insane anxiety from OCD. I have to take a lot of anxiety medicine. And so my cigar, okay, so like if you open up my closet, I use tubs. I don't like humidors. I like the tubs.
Yeah, you like the plastic, like the Tupper doors.
Yeah. I use those. So if you open up, it has each tub is by strength, and then each tub is wrapped in a packet of information sheets on each cigar that describes the photo, where they were made, everything.
You don't want to look in my humidors then, because it's just everything is thrown in there willy-nilly. I have to play Tetris to get stuff to fit. Do not look inside my humidors. But so yours are like, you are organized.
No, and I have a master book that's organized by strength, and it has.
Do you do reviews on cigars? Just personal reviews?
I don't do reviews, but in the book I will write notes of like when I smoked it, even like what I'm drinking. Like some cigars I know just from when I see it, I go, oh, that tastes good with a chocolate milk, or that tastes good with a coffee.
Chocolate milk.
Oh gosh,
seriously, chocolate milk.
It's chocolate milk, and that was by accident. It was just like I'm a sucker for some chocolate milk, and I was like, man, I think I'm gonna go have a cigar real quick while the baby's napping, and I was like, damn, this like brings out that flavor so much, and I got to note it down.
I'll never forget this. Vlad Stoyanov, friend of the show, who is the distributor for Castagli Cigars here in the U.S. I think he was the one who told me ice cream will go pretty well with some cigars.
I could see that.
Now chocolate milk.
And
That just seems like chocolate milk would be very thick.
It is thick.
And you're smoking a cigar. I don't see how that goes together at all.
It's even the book gets worse, actually. Like, I knew the cancer stat because in the back I have a learning section when people come over, because I just like to teach, and it has, history of leaves and statistical stuff that I found that I don't want to, like, where was that link? So I just put it in there. And
do you read books on cigars then?
Yeah, I read a lot.
What books for cigars would you recommend? Like, I've read the Ultimate Cigar book, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't like the one quabble, I guess, that I have with that cigar book is he talks about plume.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any plume. There is no plume, only mold. I think there's a whole podcast on it. You can check that out. And I get pretty animated about that because I hate it when you walk into a B&M and they're like, it's just plume. No, it's not. It's mold, man. Yeah.
Okay, good. We're on the same page because I did so much research on that and I was like, well, I mean, yeah, but if like, I guess cheese isn't a good example, but like if you go into like any kind of like specialty food place and they go, oh, it's just a mold. You go, oh, I'm not buying it.
Right.
Like I get that you as whoever is, pro plume, but I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
You keep it.
Right. You wouldn't, like, blue cheese is a thing, and I get that. It's not my thing, but it is a thing, and people do like blue cheese. But I can't think of another food where you're like, oh, yeah, no, it's just mold. Go ahead and eat it. You're fine.
Yeah, even when they mold steaks, they cut the mold off.
And I understand that mold is literally on everything, everything. But it's whether or not it'll bloom. Mm-hmm. And when it blooms, that's when you have a problem. Yep. And thankfully, so far, I've not had a mold problem in my humidors. I haven't had a beetle problem in my humidors.
No, I was trying to think of that beetles. That was, yeah.
Yeah. Have you had any of that?
I haven't. That was like, when I read that, I was like, that's a thing? Oh, now I'm freaking out.
Right. I did have one cigar that somebody sent me as a gift he got from a large online retailer that had a beetle hole in it. But, I mean, the beetle was dead. It was just one tiny little hole. I tossed the stick.
Yeah, see, I had one that had a bunch of holes, and I was like, is this what it is? But it's like, I don't even care. Throw it away.
Yeah. I'm not going to
I don't want it.
Yeah. As long as they're not, if it's spherical, it's a beetle.
I worked for the state for like 3 summers when I was in high school. And part of being the new guy is you have to go out and scoop all the dead animals off the road. And so like if, let's say it's Nebraska, 4th of July weekend, you got a 3-day weekend, a dead deer that got hit Friday afternoon, and you got to pull it off on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
I mean, literally have pulled, you walk up to the deer, it's covered in maggots. You can't even see the deer. You pull the leg and the leg just falls off.
Yeah, gross.
So now you're saying that I'd be okay with mold or beetle? I'm like, no, not for me.
Yeah, me either.
I'm scarred.
Me either. So you talk about doing research. You talk about all these books that you read, and you're really into it. You, once upon a time, were a content creator.
Yeah.
What content were you creating?
It was
because you did a podcast.
Yeah.
And you've done YouTube.
Yeah. Well, basically what happened was when I was on the road, there's not a lot of stuff to do. And I just got so burnt out, and I had the typical thing like I was with her for 10 years, married for 3, came home off the road. She'd been having an affair for a year, no kids at that point. And I just wanted to do anything opposite of welding inspection. Well, I was just starting the podcast, doing video editing on the side, and
video editing is a pain in the ass.
Big pain in the ass. Oh. It was an okay gig.
Yeah.
But it just gets old.
It's time intensive. It is a time suck.
Oh my God. And I did that, and then I co-bought into a digital marketing company, and they basically just didn't have the work effort. And I felt like trapped. I was like, it's never gonna work because we're just gonna lose money.
Yeah.
So, but at the time then I had access to all this equipment. So then I really boosted the podcast that I was doing at the time, Left to Deaf, just through the roof. And that was so time consuming on top of that.
What was the podcast about? Left to Deaf?
Just being on the road. My nickname is Leffy, Leffy.
Also, it was Left to Death.
Well, yeah, left. Where that came from was I was on a pipeline dig one time, and this guy from Texas was like, so what do they call you? Lefty? And I was like, no, it's Leffy. And he's like, Leffy? And I was like, yep. And he's like, oh, so you just left till death then. So I just spelled it left to deaf. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
like it.
I just ran into so many people on the road that had just crazy stories. And I wanted to interview people from different work backgrounds and stuff like that.
It's so much fun, isn't it?
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, we were a 2 or 3 hour long podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, and people would tell me like, oh, they're too long. I'm like, then don't listen. Because for me, I kind of had the Joe Rogan thought process on it was I'm talking to these people because I want to talk to them. I'm not talking to them to get a view.
Right.
So it was just like, hey, I talked to them. Here it is. And it got such big traction. And then it just got to the point to where it was like, it's kind of like I owned a DJ company when I was a kid in high school, and it turned into work, not fun. And that's what the podcast happened. I was doing it so much, it became a job, and I just got burnt out on it.
Are you afraid that's going to happen doing the ashtrays, where it's going to just be, oh, I'm doing this all the time and it's blowing up and it's now a job and I don't want to do it anymore?
No, because of those lessons. Like I have no thought on expanding to where I would hire somebody. If it's sold out, it's sold out. You know, my biggest thing is turnaround time. Sometimes it's a matter of a day or two, sometimes same day. But
Jeez, same day?
Same day, yeah.
Wow.
The manufacturing just comes in so handy. You know, to be able to cut out a lot of the processes to where it's, when I first started, you know, I was like, okay, I got the order, now I'm going to build it. And then as I built it, it's like, the only thing different on this from theirs is what they want engraved. Why am I wasting their time on this? So I would pre-build stuff to where they can get it almost instantly.
So how much of a backlog do you have of stuff that's sitting there and all you're waiting for is an order and the engraving part?
Like an inventory?
Like, yeah. Like, what's your inventory look like?
I mean, I usually keep maybe 30 pieces. You know, I can kind of 10 to 30.
Wow.
Just because I can tell as time continues to move on, statistically, you know, this sells more. Like, I know that when Father's Day comes up, you know, said parts are going to sell a lot more, so we need to have those ready.
These will make a great Father's Day gift.
For sure.
For sure. Like 100%. Like Tim saw the one that you gave me, because Tim's here. Like I said, we're here at Capital Cigars, Lincoln, Nebraska. And we just got done recording the Cigars and Coffee with Jeff, the humidor coach. And Tim's like, oh, I want to order one of those. He's like, I'm going to order that because it's just absolutely gorgeous. There's not a father alive that wouldn't love this gift with his name engraved on it.
Yeah, I think the one that I've been working on forever, and I just can't not necessarily get it figured out, but
you're just not happy with the design.
Not happy at all. Sorry. And speaking of that, that's what I was saying. Like when you said like there's some weight to it, I have one that has never come out. It's gorgeous. I like combined different woods and made this like crazy pattern, all this stuff. But when you feel it, I think the price range on it would have been like about $50. It didn't feel like $50 to me. Like you should get it and go, oh, this is worth it. And it didn't. So I was like, no, we need to put that on the backlog. We'll figure it out.
This is a question that I have because I see these ashtrays out there that have these crazy patterns, and they're obviously different woods. And I am not the handiest of individuals. I couldn't do what you do. I want to be able to have that skill. I do not have that skill set, sir. I can edit a podcast like nobody else. I cannot do that with my hands. I wish I could. What goes into pressing those woods together and getting them to stay? Is it just as simple as like glue and dowels, or?
It depends on the wood. You know, it's just like when you deal with metals, different woods react differently. Different woods smell different. They cut different. You know, like that's it's a cypress from Mississippi Delta, which means that it takes stain well. It's relatively soft, but it works good as a hardwood. It's weatherproof.
How in the name of fuck do you remember all of that?
Nerd, man. Nerd.
I would never. I'm like, it's wood. I don't know what type of wood it is. It's just wood.
You're so involved with it.
So it's like
they become your babies.
So it's like cigars. You become a cigar nerd,
sure.
And you get into the wrappers and you get into the binders and the fillers, and you know where those leaves came from and what farm it was at, and what that flavor profile is.
It's like when I was on, it was a podcast, cigar podcasts. Anyways, not too long ago, and I was basically saying, that how I don't have many taste buds because I lost them when I was a kid, and they were recommending cigars. My wife listened to it, and she's like, they were pretty much speaking Japanese to me. And I said, well, when you're in that world, like, it's the equivalent of saying, like, I don't know, a Chevy Silverado, it's brand, then type. So to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh, I know that brand and that style. But to her, she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea what you're talking about. Right. Yeah. It's foreign. My wife's the same way. She's like, everything you said to me, it might have well been in a foreign language. She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that's like what I was saying with the one that I can't get happy with, I guess, is I was born with glaucoma, so I only have one eye. And my existing eye, my working eye is...
They both exist.
They're still there.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the one that works, regardless, I'm night blind. So, this being from Iowa, in Nebraska, you go out on the deck and smoke a cigar, you turn a floodlight on at night or something,
mm-hmm.
It's bugs everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I can't see dick without the light.
Right.
So for me, I've made it and it will work. I just am not happy with it. I want to make a cigar ashtray that has an underlit LED light that's remote controlled so that if I need to ash or do whatever, it's low lit. The bugs don't want to be attracted to it. It's waterproof and it looks pretty cool.
And it looks cool. So like ambient lighting where you can see what you're doing in the dark.
Custom colors.
I will buy that if you ever get it right. I'm telling you right now, I will buy that. Because that is a cool design that you don't see in ashtrays ever. There's
mm-hmm.
not any light source with it. You've got to provide your own light source. And you're right, in the dark. And it gets dark here in Nebraska, especially when you're not in a big city. It gets dark in Iowa when you're not in a big city.
Yeah, I literally live next to a cornfield.
Yeah, it's hard to see where you're trying to ash. So unless you want to have that floodlight on and have moths and everything else, like that would be, I would 100% buy that in a heartbeat, no matter the cost. I'm telling you right now, you come out with that, I will be watching for it because that's a fantastic idea. I want to talk about what kind of equipment it takes, woodworking equipment, because I know there are several carpenters that actually listen to this show.
Oh yeah, nice.
What did you have to buy?
At this point, I've got I have three, but the one is so small I don't use it anymore. But I have three. I run Sane Smart, which is I think it's a Japanese CNC company. It's just what I started on. So it's kind of weird. Like when I bought theirs, I think they were just starting and I didn't know it. So as they've expanded their machines to get bigger and bigger, I've just continued to buy the same ones just because I can use the same tooling and everything, and if something breaks, you can grab it off the older one. So there's some CNC machining that goes into it. I would say at this point, it's maybe a quarter done by hand, and the majority of it is done by CNC because it would be very obvious if I had the first one that I made or like one of the early ones that I have that I smoke with. It's so rough looking, it's comical. And to be able to cut, I like clean lines. So to be able to program and just make them look clean, the CNC is just...
Is that what does the engraving as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. It's absolutely, it's stunning. It's stunning. I can't wait for you guys to see this.
I mean, like that logo in the center, you have to use bits that are, they're temperamental. It's like they're so small you can barely see them. And I mean, if you push hard enough with your finger, you could just snap it in half. And that's where, understanding the wood, what you're working with, and, grain direction and cut patterns and stuff like that, cut depths, comes into play because, I mean, I've crashed a machine a million times, and that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You learn by screwing up.
How much does it cost? Like, what was the initial investment to start this? This is a legit small business that you're making pretty good money at, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the initial investment to get started on this?
The first machine I started with was $600, which at the time was a big deal because we just had a baby.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I thought, I have a CNC background. I've written code forever. This will be easy. No, I crashed that thing so many times. And I'm amazed it still works. And then I just kept getting bigger and bigger. The bigger machines, you're talking a couple thousand. And I think that's why I like Saint Smart, because everybody always goes to Inventables just because they have a good marketing campaign. But I mean, you're paying, granted, it's a 4 foot, I think 4 foot by 2 or 4 foot by 4 foot cutting area. You're talking $12,000. I mean, if I'm only making cigar ashtrays, that's a lot of cigar ashtrays I got to turn.
That is a lot
to pay this thing off. Yeah. So,
what's the highest end cigar ashtray you have?
Probably that one.
So $92.
Yeah.
For $92, that's a steal.
Yeah, I try and keep it. That's always the battle of going to the mills and stuff like that, looking at wood of because I've had people say, I like this, but it would be better like this, this, and this. It's like, well, yeah, that's why this is at that price point. Because that's the only way I could get it to that price. I can build you one that'll make you shit yourself, but so will the price tag.
And I've seen some of those on Instagram where it's like, here's this ashtray, and it's absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but the price will make you drop dead. You're looking at $600-$700 for an ashtray, something that you literally are putting, burning leaves inside of. It's not going to stay looking that nice. At that point, it's $700 for a conversation piece because I would never use it. It's $92. It's gorgeous and it's functional. And I have several wood ashtrays at home that I'm always fighting with. Like, do I want to burn this? Do I want to sit the cigar on it? Because it's wood, right? So it's going to leave a mark when you're going to get that patina, so to speak, from it. But that adds character to it.
Yeah, and that was also another battle. Luckily, we're living in Nebraska. I have, like I said, the one that I use when I smoke, I leave it outside on my deck all year round because I want to see when the snow hits and then it melts and it gets hot, is it going to split? And it hasn't yet. I mean, you're obviously going to get fade from the elements, but I mean, if it rains, I let that thing fill up with water and just let it sit there. I want to see what it does, So they're coated in different, it depends on the wood. They're different coatings, different waxes to, handle if it's dropped, if it's burnt, or when you hit it on the head with that comment of, I always think of myself as, I don't know if you remember those, it was like, I think it was Goodyear with the Goodyear, the white guy, looks like the Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, the tire guy.
Yeah, the tire guy.
The Michelin Man.
Thank you.
That's him.
He grabs the tire and he's like, oh, this is my baby. And then the factory line keeps moving and he's like, moves on next one. Oh, this is my baby, and sends it out. That's how I feel with these, but it's always this irony situation of this looks so beautiful, and within, first 10 minutes of using it, they're going to have ash all over.
They're going to have ash all over.
Spilt drinks.
Right, because you have the ones with the coasters on. I mean, but they're meant to be used, and that's part of that. It just adds to, like I said, I think it adds character to it in the long run. And as long as you take care of it and you're wiping it out when you're done and you're not leaving it outside in the elements, and you're taking it inside and you're washing it out, like, it's going to last forever.
And when you're smoking a cigar, you're talking a minimum of an hour. Probably you're sitting around. It's a conversation piece.
It is a conversation piece.
And I
especially for people who have friends.
Yeah, not me.
Not me. Tim tolerates me. I don't think, as he shakes his head, yes. He just tolerates me. But yeah, you sit around with somebody and you can talk about it. And if they get into cigars, because you shepherd people into the hobby.
Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to do sometimes, especially in the climate right now. We're kind of on the downswing of, it's a tobacco product. I'm not sure I want to get involved with that or make it an everyday thing. How hard is that to shepherd people into it?
Actually, the crazy thing is, it sounds weird to say, oh, I started a business in 2020, the worst year ever. But everybody was stuck at home. They couldn't go to lounges. So suddenly they're almost like, I actually don't have an ashtray.
Yeah.
So I think that obviously helped with the explosion of it. But to be able to have one, I want one that, is custom to me. It's something I appreciate. I actually, sometimes you just need to take a step back and look around. To me, I think that cigars are going to blow up because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm a huge comedy nerd. And I was listening to, I think it was Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura.
I know that podcast, yes.
And they were talking about, he was basically saying like everybody's smoking cigars now. And he listed off the comedians. And I think if you're starting at the top, it turns into this thing where it's like, if you're say a Joe Rogan fan and you see him smoking cigars on his podcast, you go,
Foundation.
Yeah. Thank you. And he's smoking. You go, okay, well, this is a guy who his whole life is working out. He's in incredible shape. Well, why does he like cigars? Maybe I should like it. Maybe I should try it at least. And
It's different, right? It used to be. I know we've talked about this a lot on the podcast and on Cigars and Coffee, but it's a lifestyle thing. It's more. It used to be a status thing
for sure.
In the 90s, especially, it was a status thing, and you saw, Arnold smoking his cigar, and anymore it's everybody. Yep. It's white collar, blue collar, kings to street sweepers, like Glenn Loop says. It is the ultimate equalizer. It brings everybody onto a level playing field for that hour and a half, 2 hours. You're sitting around smoking a cigar. And so it doesn't matter if you work with your hands or you're sitting in an office or you're the CEO of a company, you're all on equal footing when you walk into a cigar lounge. Mm-hmm. And there's something in today's climate about fairness and everybody being equal. There's something about that just kind of clicks.
Yeah. And man, I say too much. I'm trying to break the habit. And
everybody has crutch words, and people outside the podcasting industry don't understand that. But when you're literally editing a podcast for, 2 to 3 hours every week, and you have guests on that typically are never on a podcast, like you podcast, so you've been great. But there are people who are literally every other word is so and like but I do it too. I'm like and everyone's brain every once in a while has to catch up to your mouth. So I get it, but everybody has crutch words. You're doing great.
For me, the thing that I loved about smoking cigars was even like how I had talked about my working on the road, I did that for 10 years, 350 days gone.
Yeah.
And I talk about being on long jobs, for a year plus at a time, but there was plenty of years where I was in a different town every day.
Yeah.
Every day across America and then outside. So if it's cold outside, you can run out the back door and smoke a cigarette real quick. But if you smoke a cigar, you got to slow down and relax. And that's what I liked about it. Everybody just settle down. And
you can tune out the noise if you want to and just sit there by yourself with your thoughts for an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes when it's cold outside. And it's just you and your thoughts.
See, that's my thing. Like, I love music so much. I did it over there earlier. I sit outside and put my headphones in and just listen to music and as loud as I can. And that's just, it's my wife doesn't like the music that I listen to, so that's my chance to do
same
it.
Here, yeah. What kind of music are you into?
Well, my dad was a DJ and so was I. So, just before I came over here, I was listening to everything from the Cars to Action Bronson to Cadillac 3, David Bowie. I just jump around. I love it all.
Yeah.
I'm a big breaking down like the instruments. Like we'll be in the car and I was like, babe, you hear that bass line? That's what makes this song. The bass is what's keeping it. And she's like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, she's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? That's my wife too. Like, why are we listening to this at the volume we're listening to it at?
I was explaining to my nephew last time I saw him, I was like, do you listen to this song? You don't understand. The drummer is the leader. I said, do you hear how the drummer is leading you into the chorus and you don't even know it, but you know it's coming because he's leading you there.
Yep.
And you could see the gears turn, like that side of his brain had never been opened. So he'll hear music differently, but that's just how I hear it.
And it's interesting that you say that because I sometimes, when I do reviews, because I'm a music head, I'm a musician, I typically use music as an analogy to what I'm smoking. Like there's a crescendo here, like it ramps itself up and then it backs off, and there's kind of a bridge in between in between the thirds, and so I
understand all of this,
that, right? And there's going to be people listening to this going, "The fuck is this guy talking about?" So before we get out of here, real quick, I want to talk about, so you were a podcaster, you were a content creator, now you're a small business owner. What lessons kind of overlap between podcasting and being a small business owner?
Ooh, that's a good one. From a woodworking standpoint, my biggest advice that I give to people is don't start with your product size, start with a box that you're going to ship it in, because I'll run into people all the time and say, I want to make this and I want it to be 1 foot by 2 feet. And I go, where'd you get that size? And they go, I want it to be that. And I go, have you researched the box? Because, especially with the post office, USPS, 1/4 of an inch can give you another $13, $14. Yeah. And if you're selling a product for $34, that's a big deal. You got to pay attention to this stuff. Time, how fast can you turn around something? As far as content, it's so funny to me. I just got on Instagram not too long ago because I had so many people just complain, we just want to see it. We want to see what's happening.
See what you're doing.
Okay, I'll do it. And I love it. I love, if somebody comments or messages me, this guy messaged me last night from the UK. I talked to him for an hour. We're just bullshitting about dumb stuff. And it's just me. And I've had all these companies reach out hey, we're a marketing agency. I'm I don't think this is going to work because it's just me being an idiot. I hate to keep using the word ironically, but ironically, for somebody who makes cigar ashtrays, I don't get to smoke cigars as much as you would think.
How many do you smoke a week?
Oh, gosh, maybe 1 or 2.
See, that's Tim. He's typically the 1 or 2 a week unless, he's got the time. I'm smoking 2 a day. Usually it's when I'm working. Really?
Like making stuff. It's so funny. I've had people leave reviews and I loved the smell of it. It's because I was smoking when I was making it. It wasn't infused. It just soaked it up. I'm glad you liked it because I didn't even pay attention to that.
It was this cigar. Smoke it while you're using the ashtray. That's great. So the website is GSTNcigars.com.
Yep.
Cigar or cigars.com?
Cigar.com.
The Instagram is the same, GSTN GSTN Cigar.
Yep.
Check him out. If you're listening to this podcast, we are doing a giveaway. It's a great giveaway. You're going to get this Wade versus
Evans.
Wade versus Evans. And I've seen the movie. I don't understand why I can't remember that.
I had to keep looking it up.
Yeah, Wade versus Evans. It's absolutely gorgeous. You'll see a picture of it on Instagram today, but you'll also see it when this episode comes out. Absolutely gorgeous, $92 value. He'll engrave your name on it. So you're getting a great deal here. Leave a comment at simplystogies.com on this podcast episode, and you can win this. But you can also order them if you're not lucky enough to win it. GSTNcigar.com. These are beautiful ashtrays. Jeff,
thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today on this gorgeous Saturday in April in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yep.
Capital Cigar. This is your home lounge. How often are you here?
Actually, this is the first time. Well, I come in here to buy cigars after work on Fridays, but I actually haven't been able to sit in here since pre-COVID.
Oh, wow.
I used to come here every Sunday because I like to write, and I would come here on Sundays and I'd say just give me a pot of coffee, and I'd smoke and write for a couple hours.
And they've got great coffee here.
Yes, they do.
Coffee that we got from Bagels and Joe, which I don't remember the street that it's on, so you can just Google it.
48th and Old Cheney.
48th and Old Cheney. Good God, everybody here in Lincoln knows where that's
Bagels
at.
and Joe is the shit, man. Great lunch, too.
It's a fantastic cup of coffee. We got the eye-opener with the espresso in it. But definitely check out these cigar ashtrays. Support small business where you can, especially somebody who is in the cigar culture and lives it and breathes it and loves it. I can't thank you enough for coming in. I can't thank you enough for the gift. It's absolutely fabulous. I can't wait for people to see it.
Hell yeah.
So that's Jeff, GSTN Cigars, Jeff Gaston. Thank you very much. Join me next time when I will be in Orlando talking with the fine folks at DeepSouthCigars.com. That should be an interesting episode. I'm looking forward to that. And until next time, friends, stay smoky.
Thank you for listening to Simply Stogies. Please rate and review Simply Stogies on iTunes. You can follow James on his cigar journey on Instagram at Simply Stogies Podcast, all one word, and on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Simply Stogies.